But like on a for real tip, like we were talking a lot about what do we want to do, as a Black podcast, as people that identify as Black and they're all for the Black culture, and we just thought that this would be a great opportunity. A lot of times in Black History Month, it's all about the fight and the struggle, and that's still there's still room and space for those conversations, but we wanted to use this month to really celebrate, the intersectionality that exists between queer culture and being Black, with predominant focus on just celebrating what's great about being Black. So stay tuned for more details on that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, I mean, the theme for Black History Month this year in 2022 is Black Health and Wellness. And it's exploring the legacy of not only Black scholars and medical practitioners in Western medicine, but also other ways of knowing, whether it be birth workers, doulas, midwives, herbalists, etc., throughout the African diaspora. So the 2020 theme considers activities, rituals, and initiatives that Black communities have done to be well. So I like that, especially we always talk a lot about mental health wellness and things like that. I like that this health and wellness is a key focus this year, because sometimes it's just a struggle to be Black all day every day, and it's sometimes hard to even focus on the health and wellness part of it, and to put that as a right in the forefront is a cool idea. So I mean, I guess let's hop into it. What time is it?
Ask
Ask
your
your auntie.
Hey,
I'm gonna do the Maya Angelou.
hey, you know what? Speaking of that Maya Angelou, we got trolled by some account on IG saying, what did they say? They said, left some comment saying that you guys talk about Blackness, but don't like enjoy the Blackness of it all or something. I was like, okay, come on, troll with your little private account. Shut up.
Bye.
Like clearly you don't listen to our podcast.
Yeah.
Clearly
No.
not. So yeah, somebody won a little clout.
Yeah, literally.
No, we're not buying it. So
I was like,
Yeah.
okay, keep on scrolling past. But this Ask Your Aunties, which one are we going to do? We wanted to focus it around some of the questions we're going to be doing for their lives. So which one do you want to talk about today, Dewan?
um, let's do let's do let's do question number one. Why is Black History Month important to you as an LGBTQ plus Black person?
Well, that
So I think
Brandon.
in your answer, so I
Mhm.
think in your answer, it would be great if you could share, if you're open to it, share how you identify, because a lot of us use different, descriptors for how we identify. So how do you identify, and then, why is Black History Month important to you as you think about who you are?
You want to go first, Brandon? Or you want
Well,
to
I'm thinking on
think
that
it?
one.
Okay. I mean, I'll hop in.
Okay.
For me, like, especially as I've gotten older and probably more comfortable in my Blackness and gayness, it means a lot just because not only do I feel seen more, because I think it's based around like I want to be seen more, if that makes sense. For the longest, not really feeling comfortable in both being Black and in my version of Black, because sometimes, especially growing up in white America, I might be too Black, but then in the Black community, I wasn't Black enough, and oh, you talk white and all this stuff, and so being so confused for so long, and then layering over the gayness of it and being confused there for so long, it's cool finally in my 30s now being just really comfortable at what I'm able to bring in my gayness and Blackness, and not apologizing for it, still learning, um extending my friend group, even though like I have Black friends all my life, but it's just like really finding, especially in the gay part of it, gay Black men that I identify with and want to like invest in, and they invest in me and things like that, has been very cool. And especially when it comes to February for Black History Month, adding on that layer of gayness is very critical for me, because it's part of the community that I feel like being Black that we still struggle with.
Mm.
Um, and it's something that we just still don't talk enough about, don't understand enough about, and don't acknowledge and uplift enough that if we like, especially on this podcast, we talk about it all the time. Really, a lot of the foundation was being visible and showing our brand of blackness and gayness and uplifting that and creating a community of, I mean, it could be like-minded folks, it could be not like-minded folks, I don't care, but just showing that we're here, and it doesn't have to be some stereotype. Yes, we might fulfill some of the stereotypes and we might not, but just being yourself and being it in February, being it in June, but also being it the other 10 months, just coming completely how you are and showing even the evolution of it, because hopefully the crow that, at least for the podcast sake, that you've heard and seen, hopefully you've seen maybe a little growth and a little, evolution, maybe not, I don't know, but just going along on that journey and being okay to show my full self. So knowing the history and what the struggles that folks have had, but then also my own history and struggles that I've had, and being okay of sharing that, and it's really cool. And yeah, I don't know, I thoroughly enjoy it, and I every year, especially with social media, I just see and learn something else, especially with the intersectionality of being gay and black. That's very
Mm-hmm.
very cool to me, to just continue to learn and educate myself even. So
Mm-hmm.
Brandon, you're up, boo.
Well, I think just being able to stand in your queerness and your blackness together is very important. And that's one of the reasons why I love that y'all decided to do this podcast, because I know in my friends groups there aren't a lot of, what's the word I'm looking, a lot of examples of people who are black and queer, um, and being comfortable in living in their own truth. So being able to tune in to y'all every week and see that comfortability, that self-assuredness, just helps other people, myself included, who might be struggling, be able to live and stand in our truths as
mhm.
well. So for me, just being able to see that other people who are visible, that way that once I'm comfortable, I can hopefully encourage other people to be more comfortable in who they are.
Mhm.
Love it, love it, love it.
How about you, Jerome?
Um, it's very important to me, especially. Well, first, I identify as a gay demisexual, and so it's important to me to have queer Black history, at the at the forefront for Black History Month for me, because I think about my childhood and some of the trauma that I'm unpacking today. Just in my own therapy, how amazing it would have been to have Black queer history growing up as a kid. you
Mm-hmm.
know I honestly think wholeheartedly it would have changed how my parents even raised me, or how they talk to me. Like, I don't hear, I mean, it still happens, don't get into it, it still happens, but I don't see a lot of even just like adults being like, don't do that's what little girls do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's a sissy, like you're a boy, you're supposed to be like this. Like, a lot of our queerness when we are children are pushed to the side, or swept under the rug, or locked in the door purposely by our
Yeah.
family. And so I love the fact that we do this because it allows us to teach other people. So that way, when there is another queer Black youth that comes in the world, that there's a place that they can go to get some type of knowledge. Like, there is something out there, whether it's going to be directly in their
Yeah.
face, I don't know, but they can Google us, they can Google something, and we will pop up, and there will be an example,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So that's, really why it's important to me. And kind of like what Carell was saying earlier, um, there's still a big, disconnect to people in the Black community accepting the LGBTQIA plus part of the community, you know. So y'all know me, even on Pride Month, I shove it in the white folks' place, and I'm black, you know. So
Your
when like
dictionary.
girl, right, like you talked about that intersectionality, you know, that intersectionality, like I let them both have it. Like
Yeah.
every way I identify, everyone get it. And I'm gonna remind everyone and teach people, because if we don't speak up, if we don't, you know, stand up and choose the path to be leaders, um, we're not going to be able to teach and inspire the way I know that we truly can. And that's why I love
Yeah.
it.
What about you,
Yeah.
Dewan?
No. Yeah, I agree with what everybody said. I identify as a gay black man, and I one of the things I think that's really important about Black History Month and that intersectionality is just seeing how the month is a month for visibility, right? Because and looking at year after year, how much more we're starting to see that intersectionality between the LGBTQ plus community and the Black community be part of the Black History Month experience.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is huge. When I think about the kind of programming that you can see on television on the big screen, that I see the articles that are being written. It has always been a month for learning. Even when we were little, we were learning about the same, 8 people. Like the Sojourner Truths and the
Honey.
Ben Carvers and like the
It's like,
core,
what's up,
group.
Harriet?
But right. But now when it comes to talking about Black history, and we talk about things like trailblazers, or when you see like documentaries on television or whatever, the tapestry of our Black experience is so rich, and
Oh, I like that wording. The
we're
tapestry of our history is so rich. I like that. That's a good phrase.
we're now in a place where we're starting to see like those niche areas of our community that we didn't see 5 years ago, 10
Isn't
years
that
ago,
crazy?
15 years
Yeah.
ago. But it existed, and that's the thing. So like for me, why I think it's so important is that, I think that I thank God that it exists. And I think our the people that came before us, our grandparents, that really made this happen. Through a lot of the work that they've done, and with civil rights and things like that. And since its inception, it's been about sharing, learning, um, exposing, like really diving deep into our community. So yeah, I really like that. There was another thing that I was just thinking about. Um, this notion of how we break generational curses, and when it comes to like the wealth gap, or even this year when we're talking about mental health. Last week we were just talking on this podcast about how, especially within our culture, we use humor,
Mm-hmm.
to deal with or deflect from pain and trauma and things of
Yeah,
that
it's a
nature,
coping
and that's just
mechanism.
part of, yeah.
Mhm.
And so, I think having additional tools, which I find amazing for this year as a theme, additional tools to focus on one's mental health, and to have coping mechanisms that are above and beyond just making it funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a right thing, and I'm so excited that conversation, the conversation of emotional health, mental health, and breaking down the stereotypes about getting help, because in our communities we'll be damned if we send somebody to the hospital, let
Girl,
alone a
right?
shrink.
That's
We'll
so true.
had that cousin that stayed in the back closet or the back room,
Yeah,
that never came out. And
that's
oh, that's
true.
just old Johnny back there. Don't go back there, whatever.
It's like, what's Uncle Johnny doing back there, Ma? It's true. It's so true. Yeah,
So I'm glad that that's the focus this year.
and it's just cool, like, because I like in like the phrasing that they put in here too is just like the doulas and the midwives and the herbalists and things like that, things that were very normal probably from like Africa and things like that, that kind of got pushed aside because it wasn't white. That it's just like take
That white
pride.
propaganda,
Girl, it's wild. But
they demonize everything about our culture so that we would be
yeah,
completely disconnected. Like the psychological warfare on the black
absolutely.
community, like the fact that we don't have those ancestral bonds, that the Italians do, that the Jewish people do, that Polish people do, that anybody but black,
Right.
everybody but quintessential United States blackness um, is like deeply connected to their ancestral roots, and yet for us, it's like
It's a faux
it
pas
had
that we
been,
do it. Yeah.
yeah, it had been a source of shame,
Hmm. So
and I
so
love
I
that we're
like,
leaning more into it.
and I'm glad they like chose those words, because it's just like you just said. I'm glad we're leaning into it way more now. Like, and
Hmm.
you just see it as time keeps going on. We're just like, you know what? Fuck all that, because what we bring is so unique and it's so us and it's so enjoyable and it's joy and it brings happiness. It's just like it just comes out of
Hmm.
that DNA. That DNA is like awakened, and you're like, finally, all this stuff that they were trying to like minimize for centuries is still in us. And we have our little moments and things like that, and let's lean into it even more, especially as like, I don't know if I said it, I identify as gay. I guess that's something that maybe the next level of learning about career is like, okay, are there other parts of me that I really actually kind of identify? I don't know. Gay, call me gay, queer, black, it is what it is. um but it's just like, whatever it is, that intersectionality, lean into it. It's okay. Be your full self, because
Hmm.
that's what we want to see. That's what you can bring to the world. That's what pushes culture forward. That's what pushes education forward. That's what pushes the world forward. Is when you can bring what's distinctly you to the situation and
Yeah.
don't care that it might make someone uncomfortable. They'll catch up soon enough and try to monetize it. So,
Mhm.
That part.
so yeah, so
That part.
I'm excited, and yes, know your history, uncover some history. There's so many stories out there that are like have not been told, just because there's, like you said, Dewan, shame behind it. I look
Hmm.
forward to just hearing new stories. That's why I'm excited about even the lives that we're doing, just to hear additional stories that have not been told, or if they've been told, have been covered up because folks just didn't want it out there because it made them uncomfortable.
You know what I wish was out there, and if it doesn't exist, which I don't think it does, and this is the property of Minoritea Report, so you'll have to
Hey.
come through us to get this done. I'm just putting it out there. But what would be great is if there was a black version of Ancestry.com. One that has historical context, so because like when you like, so for example, I can trace my family history, a lot of my family history, back to like the mid 1800s, but then the trail goes dead there, and it's all folklore and fairy tales.
And I think there is one.
But
It's called African Ancestry. I was like, I think I've seen an ad.
but that's specifically focused on
Yep.
African Americans,
Yep. It
because
says
what I would
African
love
roots. Yep.
because what I would love is for there to be some connection to like specific plantations or specific
Mm.
areas, where people come from. So if there's a name, you have a last name, and if you can trace the I was going to say episiotomy, and that is not the word. Trace. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I'm gonna get it wrong.
Like
But
almost a
trace the
lineage.
lineage of a
Mm-hmm.
root. Yeah, the lineage of the root of their last name. A lot of those can be traced to certain particular areas, and there are stories specifically within those areas. Like for example, I know that the bulk of my mother's father's family came from the Mississippi area, right? And if you can trace your lineage to a certain degree, you should be able to find historical details about the culture or the plantations or the things going on in that community that you can tie to your family story. So it's
Yeah.
not just you're seeing like the marriage licenses and the going into signing up for service or whatever, but you're also getting like people that come from this area also, this is a little bit more about this
Right.
particular area and da 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 da.
Yeah. No, that's dope. And obviously, this is a Ask Yo Aunteas question that we've kind of formulated to us, but continue to send your Ask Yo Aunteas questions to AYA at minoriteareport.com.